Hello everyone, my name is Gejo and this is, by the way, a GP Ka Funda session. I am more like a person who is going to coordinate this. That is how you can see the session, because GP of course is the person who has been analyzing specifically DILR section of all the mock tests. Of course, I also have a look at this the section as well. So this is probably one section which is slightly different from other two sections from a point of view analysis. By that I mean that if I look at verbal ability, I mean, yes, there is just probably three types of question: reading comprehension. At least in the paper, the issue will be with respect to getting stuck in a question or pose the test, realizing that you had any issues. But from analysis point of view, it's slightly more straightforward. Quant, of course, has got a little bit of structure in terms of the chapters and the topics, and therefore that analysis is also a little straightforward, which we did in the last video. DILR, when it comes to DILR, there are probably behavior is become very crucial, and there are a lot many things that you analyze. So that's what we will do. Yeah, GP.
Yeah, Gejo, you're absolutely right that the DILR, not the analysis is very different from the way you would do the other two sections. In addition to that, I will add to that and say this is a section which has to be treated in a completely different manner. End of the day, when you look at verbal ability or reading comprehension, or even if you look at quantitative aptitude, these are questions which you have to handle. But DILR, you cannot go straight to the question. Even in a reading comprehension, you can just, you have sufficient time, you can go through each passage and read and answer the question. But when it comes to DILR, the biggest challenge with this particular section is that the time is not sufficient. It is insufficient. You have less time than what you need, or the time of 40 minutes, if you look at the current pattern of the paper, is sufficient for 2, maybe 3 sets of data. Hardly anyone will be able to do all 4 sets. So if all 4 sets are not possible, the critical thing always becomes which are the sets that you should attempt first, which is the set which is that one set which you are not comfortable, then we should be leaving. So DILR as a section is inherently different because it forces you to choose what you should be attempting before you start. And unlike quant, where you will say, let me start from question 1 and go to question 22 sequentially, that is not the way it is going to happen. You'll say, okay, I have 4 sets, S1, set 2, set 3, and set 4. First task will be to go through all of them, understand what are the intricacies of each one of them, and then decide which one to attempt or not to attempt. Okay? So that is what is different about this particular section. Okay? So this is the agenda for us. As far as DILR is concerned, what is your game plan? Okay, how to analyze the DILR section? Okay, in CAT mocks and in CAT also, and so that you can improve your scores. And what is that 4-week action plan that we have, similar to the other two sections that we did? Okay, yeah, back to you, Gejo.
Yeah, so what you said is absolutely right when it comes to DILR. At least when reading comprehension, though, is sort of a grouped question set. But the challenge is just about reading the passage and comprehending it. DILR, I have to read it, comprehend, work on it, synthesize data, collect data, put it together, and hope that something is going to happen towards the end. And and then maybe even work on, in some cases, even work extra on individual question as well. So you're right, GP. So your game plan with respect to the DILR is very critical. And that is number one. And second, of course, to look at how to analyze the efforts so we can see how that works.
Actually, Gejo, you had an acronym for DILR. How to go about solving sets. What was that? Gods.
I said, yeah. So I looked at first step is to gather all the information that you have. And the second is to organize all the information in a neat format. And then we have to start deducing or inferring things, and then go and look at the question and solve those questions. Yeah. So that was sort of the 4 steps that I thought is there in the DILR. So these 4 things.
And I've always felt this is the absolutely the right approach. Unfortunately, when students are taking the DILR section up, attempting the paper, they by and large tend to skip these 3 and go straight to the question to solve. Unfortunately, as in reading comprehension, you cannot go to the question without understanding the passage. The same thing is true. So this part, to some extent, you could say, is similar to the process that we adopt in reading comprehension. Yes, a little more complicated, but nevertheless, this is what is to be done out there. Okay.
And one other thing with respect to this DLR is when I see some people's way in which they're working, it reminds me of my bachelor days rooms. So completely disorganized, dirty, and when I look at people, so they just don't write things neatly.
Yeah.
The idea is that I think obsession of speed, which makes I have to do everything fast, and then you scribble things also fast. And when you look at it again, you only feel very bad. I think for a lot of reasons that organizing information, if you can if you are in control of organizing information, each step is therefore in that sense is very sort of important here. So analysis will mean that did I gather the information properly? Did I organize them properly? Did I deduce them properly? Did I solve? And starting of the first place, the passages that I saw or decision that I made, was it a good decision that I made? So that those are all things that are important.
Yeah, absolutely right. So if I break this section, this particular thing, I will break it into three parts. The first part is selection. The second part to me is understanding. And the third part is solving. Okay. Now, as you rightly said, that this is where most of the mess up happens. So when you're analyzing the paper, this is where you need to go. Assuming you have chosen the right set of data, which is what most students come back and say, but after the paper I could solve. Because when you are doing the paper, you are not in a rush. You did not gather information properly, which means you probably read it very fast. You missed out on some information. Even when you got the information, you did not organize the data properly, and hence the deduction did not happen. Deduction will happen in the correct manner only if these two happen. And this is why I think many people, it seems, Gejo, to me, want to take that rough sheet home in CAT and in the mock CATs also. What are they going to do with the rough sheet? I don't know. To me, that if you look at CAT as a paper, it gives you ample number of rough sheets. Each set of data you should give one sheet. And so that you are not scribbling all over the place. And if you don't scribble, if you write things neatly, if you make a big table which is easy for you to understand, these understanding issues will not happen at all. Okay?
Yeah, you're right. And the rough sheet for those of you is what CAT gives you is a sort of a booklet which of A5 sides, your normal paper ka ada, A5 sides.
Yeah.
And I think that they have got some 24 sort of pages there, and which means you can with four sets. If it's a sort of 2 hour paper of CAT, four sets. What GP is absolutely right. One sort of sheet dedicated to one set, neatly done. Yeah.
Even if you do 2 sheets per set, it is 8 sides gone. You still have another 16. What are you going to do with it? And if you look at quant, 22 questions, you will hardly use 4 sides to it. So roughly half the paper, half the booklet will be wasted in any case. Please make full use of it. Okay? But before we go on to this part, I think let us try to look at these CAT score versus percentile for the last year's CAT, which is CAT 2021. Yeah. Okay. And this is, Gejo, where I find things are very, very interesting. 80 percentile, 5 questions. Okay. 15 marks. Now there's a small caveat here. This is 15 marks. This is a scale score. Okay. This is a scale score. I'm sure all of you understand that part. And I'm saying that because last year, one of my students in CAT 21, she messed up the paper and she attempted only 4 questions and she had 81.58 percentile. Okay. Now, so obviously her
and she's in IIM Indore, GP, sorry.
She's in IIM Indore now. And obviously for her slot, the paper was deemed to be slightly more difficult, so it would have gone, her score would have gone up. Okay, so that scaling would have happened. So take it with a pinch of salt. When we say 15, or by and large, it is something that you are saying it is by and large plus minus maybe a couple of marks. Okay, so don't be too worried. But the critical thing out here again is going to be, end of the day, all you need to do is 5 questions, one set of data of 6 questions. Just for the benefit of those who don't remember, CAT 21 had 2 sets of 6 questions, and it had 2 sets of 4 questions. So 12 questions here, 8 questions here, total of 20 questions. So if you did one set of 6 questions, you had cleared the sectional cutoff for by and large almost all the institutes that you are appearing for targeting, including IIM Ahmedabad. Okay. The important thing to me is again here 95 percentile, because that is something which most students would be very, very happy getting. You just look at the score required. 8 questions, 2 sets of 4 questions each. Now for the benefit of those, again, last year, if I look at CAT 21, slot 1, I think slot 1, okay, my slot was slot 2. I think one of the other slot also had 2 sets of data of 4 questions, which were very easy. Okay, very, very easy sets. There were 2 sets which were very easy, and to my mind, anyone could have finished those 2 sets in 10 to 12 minutes each in the worst case scenario. So in 25 to 30 minutes, you could have got 95 percentile in CAT 2021 in 2 out of the 3 slots. In the third slot, which is where this girl was from, there are 4 questions, or you would have probably got it at 6 questions itself. Okay. So don't be too worried about the speed part. You rush through it because you are speeding up because you want to attempt more. But look at the score required. 99.5 percentile was also at 37 marks, 13 questions out of 20 questions. 65% attempt was good enough for this. So end of the day, to me, the important thing always will be don't rush, take your time, look at what is it that you're capable of doing. Once you have picked up a set of data, you need to make sure you're going to give it sufficient time. Yep, Gejo.
Yeah, absolutely, GP. And one other thing that students should remember is that in CAT 2020, there were 5 sets,
Yes.
if I remember correctly. But the
Yes.
CAT 2020, the score distribution exactly the same, maybe 1 mark up or 1 mark down. So, so CAT 2020 was 5 sets. The earlier CAT, which has got those 1 hour paper, and when I say earlier, I'm talking about 2015 to 2019, there were 8 sets of, if I remember, 4 questions each. So
yeah, I'll just write down those stuff. So this is also 12. So CAT 2020 was 24 questions. If we look at CAT 15 to 19, these were 8 sets of 4 questions each.
Correct.
32 questions. And this is 40-minute section. And this is a 60-minute section.
Correct. So while in a 40-minute session, we will say that doing 2 sets was great. At least you can hit the 90th percentile and up. In the 8 set scenario in 40 minutes, I think 3 sets we used to say would kind of be the same place. And if you are able to get 4 sets, you're hitting the higher percentile. And I don't think 5 sets with 99.5.
Yeah. So if you look at CAT 15 to 19, 99 percentile in these papers which had 32 questions was typically at about 99 percentile was typically at about 44 to 40, let's say 46 marks. So what we are saying is you needed to do about 16 questions. 16 questions would be 4 sets of data, 50% of the paper. Okay, a 95 percentile typically was at about 30 marks. Okay. So which was again about 10 questions at 2 to 3 sets of data. The critical thing to understand, what Gejo is also saying is that whether it's a 40-minute paper or a 60-minute paper, in each of the cases, if you look at from CAT 15 onwards, you have not been able to complete the paper, and your job is to choose the right sets of data to attempt. Once you have chosen, be patient, give it time, don't rush through it, organize your data so that the deduction is correct, and hence you will be able to solve the questions correctly.
One other thing that everybody should understand is that, like what the GP has rightly said, that this is not a test, at least from a design point of view. I think if I look at from a design point of view, yes, somebody somewhere sitting may be able to solve all the sets. But for almost everyone, that is not the case. What that tells me is that when I look at, let's say, I have the number of sets that is given to me, irrespective of the number of sets that is given to me, I can only do what I can do. But let's do a few things. Let's compare the 4 sets with the 5 sets. What the 5 sets is doing from a positive point of view, from a benefit point of view, is giving me a lot of choices than what a 4 sets gave me, right? If you look at a 4 set, I have to basically, if I'm solving 2 sets out of the 4 sets, and I'm rejecting, I have to select that 2 sets from the 4 sets. When I had 5 sets in CAT 2020, I'm selling the 2 sets of the 5 set. It gave a little more choices. So I don't know how CAT 2020 is going to be. But the other problem with too many choice, GP, is when people are given choices, confusion starts happening.
Yeah.
And when you have less number of choices, you just if CAT would have given you just 2 sets to solve, I'm sure life will be better. You'll get more better marks also.
Yeah, absolutely right. End of the day, the key thing from a student perspective is it's a 40 minutes, there's 60 minutes. Incidentally, if you compare 60-minute paper with a 40-minute paper, whether it is a 4-set paper or 5-set paper, the marks required for a given percentile are almost 2/3. Okay. Almost 2/3. So this was, if you look at this, if you look at 95 percentile was 30 versus 24, so slight variation there. Okay, so please remember, it is not going to matter. Your job will to choose. If you have 4 sets, you still need to choose 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 4. And if you have 5 sets, you need to choose 3 out of 5. Unlikely you will go to 4 out of 5. As you just said, we are sure there will be a few people who will be possibly be able to do 5 out of 5 also. But hardly anyone would be there. So we need not worry about those people. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's move to the next thing and look at how do we analyze this particular section so that we can improve our scores. Okay. And this is something that we have talked about in 3 videos so far. We have talked about the execution gap and the competence gap, both of these. Okay. And here when we are talking about the competence gap, possibly we are talking more about the kind of exposure you have. One of the things which is also important in DILR is to remember that this is a section or these are the kind of questions or sets which you have not done in school or college. And possibly you are doing these only because you are preparing for CAT. Otherwise, DILR would not have been a part of your agenda at all. A few of you would be fond of puzzles, and for you, it might be useful. You may have some exposure. But for anyone else, it is your exposure to different kind of data sets which will improve your competence. Unlike quant, where you need to learn formulas, there's nothing to learn out here. It is to get exposed, to get an idea of what the various kind of data sets are possible. And second thing is how to organize data. So your exposure to different kind of data sets, your ability to organize is going to be the key thing when we are talking about competence. Second thing, please remember, you'll keep preparing for DILR till CAT, but even at the time of CAT, you will never be able to complete the syllabus because you might have done 1,000 different kind of data sets. The exam could still give you another 1,001 kind of a data set. So you just need to keep working, and your job is not to say, okay, this is what I can do. Your job will be to say that as we go along, I should become competent enough to read that data and to be able to organize it, even if I have not done such a data earlier. Yeah, Gejo, anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, GP, here you're right. So when you look at, first of all, for those of you looking at this graph and going, what is this? I'm welcome to both of us, because this is something that we have been saying all throughout, which is to redo all the question once again, and without looking at the solution and with all the time limit, and see how many can you actually do. In the test condition, you can do only because you're forced under time pressure. Without the time pressure, do that is at all sort of Avkat score, and then you may have a certain target score. So GP always says you'll actually realize your Avkat is more than whatever your target is. You mean
for many students, target score is here and Avkat score is here. That happens very, very often.
Yeah. So here what is important, and to add that, your like GP was saying, the competence is more a question of exposure rather than if you look at DI, I mean, you're looking at basic arithmetic operation, right? I'm sure that all of us would know the basic arithmetic operation. Maybe the competence is, I believe that yesterday when we are having the live session, there was a number which is 55.55%. GP was saying 55.55% is 5 and 9. And there was a number which is 57.14%, and then immediately for GPCs, I think it's what 4/7 GP is that?
4/7. Yeah.
4/7, and then it's like he's able to see 7/13s. So those kind of issue about your those may be another sort of competence, in the sense that my knowledge base of comfortable level with numbers. So you will realize those things as a part of it. When I look at really analytical reasoning and stuff, it is more to do with the process or lack of knowing the process. Maybe let's say some funda may be required in set theory. Let's say, for example, the force set data is given. I need to know how to draw a force set diagram. If I don't know how, we know how to draw three intersecting circle, but four set is slightly a different diagram that you draw. So those things would bring in competence, and the bridging the competence gap. Here is building that one. I think the key at least is you might not need to build too much of competence gap when it comes to DI, given that we are two sets will start giving a very high percentile. I think everything is finally boiled down to what behavior works best for you.
Yeah.
I mean, your behavior, your execution gap is big because there is a certain behavior that is meant for you, which helps you. So, for example, it is picking this one or a certain process, and somehow there is a breakdown that is happening in that behavior while taking the test. So, your analysis would be to figure out what works best for you, and what we can give you is something that we have seen working in general for people, but it's also absolutely important to understand what works best for you and working towards it. So your knowledge or your awareness of the issues, and specifically looking at why I'm able to solve this, my behaviors when I take the test, that's something that you should carefully analyze when it comes to DLR. This is going to be absolutely important than anything else. And even for QA or this one, you have to basically analyze what if, let's say, I start solving a particular set, right in the middle, I realize I'm not going anywhere. What should I do at this point in time? And the answer to that question will be an answer which is personal to you. And that answer will be, I think you have to, so every single mock test that you take will expose you to all these kind of challenges and struggles. And it is absolutely important that you look at these challenges and see what is the learning that you pick from each of these challenges and struggles that you have gone through in each of the mock. Think of every mock as an opportunity to learn, not as something that is saying that, oh, mock is just telling me I do not have the skill set. No. Look at the mock. So GP, I think the execution, while competence gap need to be worked on, I think execution gap is absolutely crucial when it comes to DL, according to me.
In fact, Gejo, in fact, most of the students suffer, especially in DILR, because of poor execution. We remember, we talked a little while ago about gods. Gathering information, they mess up because they're reading the data fast, so they miss out on a couple of lines. They scribble all over the place, so organization is not up to the mark. You did not gather properly, you did not organize the data. Obviously, deduction will be a problem, and because you have not been able to deduce, solution will be incorrect. So to me, the biggest problem is here. And for the student, I want you to be very clear about this. Why do we want to gather information fast so that we can come here fast? This is the last step. Give it time. And also look at this. Let me assume you are right now here. One more question, you go to 85 percentile. One more question, you go to 90 percentile. One more question, you go to 95 percentile. Two more questions, you go to 97 percentile. Two more questions, you go to 99 percentile. So you need to be very clear. The incremental effort required to move from 80 to 85, 85 to 90, or 90 to 95 is minimal. It is a very small jump which is required. So don't rush this. And if you are not willing to spend time here, you will have poor execution. And when we are talking about execution gap, I am essentially referring to these two only: gathering of information or organizing of the data. If you do this well, deduction will be correct, solution will be right.
Yeah. Okay. And I think one other thing that was something that I have learned from GP, something that I never do, or at least I never did it when I wrote or when I started teaching as well, which is to information is also there on question. This was an eye opener for me when I remember attending some of the session GP had. Question has got information, which is not only tells me what I have to do, but also can add extra piece of information to the chart also, which is amazing. I think those the things but the things also kind of help. I don't know whether that's a part of competence and execution, but I'm just saying. So that like, what GP is saying is absolutely right. Your ability to gather information not just from the question that is given. Also, can you gather information? Also, not from the data set. Can you gather information from the question also? What the question is trying to do. That's also important.
Yeah. So just to complete this part, then we move to the next one. Gather and organize. This is essentially where your data execution gap happens. This is the reason why you are not able to deduce or why you are not able to solve. So the issue is here. So if you are stuck in a paper, if you don't get a good score, this is where you need to go back to the paper and say, okay, before that you'll have the selection also. Okay. Selection of set. Once you have chosen the right set, ask yourself, I chose the right set. Why did I miss a particular piece of information? Or if I picked up all the information, why was my organizing of data incorrect? And that is what will help you cover up this gap of execution. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the things you need to keep in mind? Gejo, what would you say for the students? What is it that they need to be clear about as far as this section is concerned?
So the first thing that you would care about section is you have to break it down to first four sort of process that we said and understand for each of the question what is your performance in each of these processes. Did I gather correctly? Did I organize correctly? Did I deduce what my deduction was and solve? And number two, obviously, is selection of the question itself. So, for example, did I select the right set? When I select the right set, was I made the right decision? Did I gather? Did I organize? Did I deduce? What about my deduction? Inferences that are true. How I solve? That is one. Two, I think it is very important that so like what GP said is that there is no end to the gamut of data interpretation. You don't have to look for perfection, but what is necessary is that you should definitely solve post the test. It is absolutely important to redo all the questions once again, include the ones that you got right and also the ones that you did not get right. I think GP, I have to stress this. Redoing the questions that you got right in DILR is going to be as crucial as because you will get you'll understand better method. You'll understand a better way to organize things. So reading all the questions, these to me are going to be absolutely crucial from a analysis point of view, GP.
Yeah. So this is from an analysis point of view. Now, when I'm talking about the behavioral part, and again, selection, gathering of information, organizing. So this is where your execution gap happens. There's another place where execution gap comes into play, which is where your inability to leave a question. So when you are unable to leave a question, what happens? You end up solving difficult questions also, or you end up trying to solve difficult questions also. You end up trying to solve questions which are time consuming as well. So when you are doing the paper, after the paper, when you are redoing all these sets, I think this is one another thing you need to ask yourself. Was it necessary for me in set number 2, which has got 6 questions, I solved 4 correctly. The remaining 2 were difficult or would have taken 5-6 minutes. Was it worth solving? And in trying to solve them, I got them wrong also and I wasted time. Had I not done this, would I have been able to do some other question somewhere? So this is, I think, very, very critical. You need to understand that this is a section in which, or rather CAT as a paper, for every correct answer will get only 3 marks. Whether it is easy, whether it is medium, whether it is difficult, does not matter. Whether it's a 30-second question or a 5-minute question, it will still get 3 marks only. And hence, it is extremely important that you be able to pick out the questions which are difficult, time-consuming, and not attempt them at all. This is extremely important. Otherwise, you will always be running short of time in this paper. Okay. So, and just quickly, when you are redoing all the set, I'll just explain in detail that when you have to redo the paper, what are the specific things you have to do? Yes, Gejo.
Yeah. So sorry, so when you redo GP, one of the things that I've seen is once a test is done, everybody wants to either, well, first we cry, especially for DLR, then post which we just want to look at the solution. And it is, see, it's like puzzles, no? If you know the answer to the puzzle is over. You don't learn anything from it.
Yeah.
There is no point learning. So even if, let's say, you take one day to crack one set, but the fact that you spend that one day on that particular set means you're thinking about it. Your muscle is working. Your mind, everything is working to build how do I put this, to working the, you're enhancing your skill. So redoing means, before you look at the solution, before you look at anything, I have to solve every single set once again, till a point I say, this is not happening to me at all, till a point that you absolute give up happens, till that point. And then and only then would you start looking at solutions, looking at video solutions. So GP, I think I have to stress that if you don't redo the sets of DLR, I think that you miss a
Yeah.
huge opportunity of learning.
Yeah, this to me is fine. To me, this is the problem. Okay, to me, this is the problem. And I'll just quickly write down 3 or 4 steps which I think we should do. After the paper, yes, you have laughed, you have cried, you are happy, unhappy, sad, whatever has happened has happened. Now what do? You open the paper again. Open the mock DILR section again. Once you have opened it, go through, solve all sets again. Even if you have got it right, the reason you still need to solve is because when you solve a data set for the first time, you are only looking at the solution. It is only when you solve the set for the second time or the third time or the fourth time do you look at alternate ways, do you look at shortcuts, do you understand, okay, what are the various tricks and techniques you can apply. So doing the same set again and again, many people think is a waste of time. To me, that is the most important part. So you solve all sets again. Okay, solve all sets again. Even if you have solved them earlier, you still do them. AGAIN. Okay. Next, what you do is, now that you have solved these sets, classify them as either easy, medium, or difficult. Because each set would be one of these 3 for you. Now, after that, ask yourself: did you choose correct sets or not? Was your choice of sets, was it okay or not? Was it okay or was it not okay? Okay. Now, if it was okay, great. That means you have chosen the right sets of data, but you're perfectly fine. If no, then please go to these sets again and ask yourself, what made them easy? What made them medium? What was there in the data set which should have told you, yes, this is likely to be difficult? There is going to be something in the data or the paragraph or the question and the choices which will tell you that this set is likely to be easy, medium, difficult. Identify that, so that in future you are able to pick out that part. Most of the students miss this completely, and hence paper after paper they end up picking difficult sets. Okay? So if you pick up a difficult set, you will take time. Okay? And again, I'm not saying difficult for everyone. What is difficult for you is difficult for you. It might be easy for others or medium for others, does not matter. Similarly, what is easy for you is what you have to look for. Whether it is difficult for others or medium for others does not matter to you. Okay? So this exercise has to be done so that you can learn the art of identifying easy sets. Okay? And after this, what you do, all these sets that you find medium and difficult, these have to be revised once a week. Revise means solve again. Put pen on paper, make the complete table all over again. Because every time you look at these medium and difficult sets, you will be able to find something new, which is going to improve your competence. Competence improvement will happen when you keep doing the same sets again and again. Gejo said a little while ago, 57.114. How does it come automatically to me? Because I've done so many sets that the number has got ingrained in my mind. And those of you who have attended my sessions of Vedic maths, when we do reciprocal, I also tell which are the important reciprocal numbers which come very often. Okay? So out here you have to also keep on identifying sets for revision, and within them you may say, okay, this question, even though I don't want to revise this set, this particular question is very important, I would want to revise it. Okay? Finally, in each of these sets, look at what are the alternate ways of solving. Okay? You could go, and now that you have done this, you can look at the solution. the video solution or the Jugaad solution, as the case may be. Now you say, okay, what is the other thing that I could have picked up through the solution? So to me, this is the last bit. Video solution or the written solution is the last bit. This task you do, then the solution will start making sense. Otherwise, it is not going to be of any use to you.
There is this kind of sad story. I'm using what sad is because people believe that once I solve a particular set, anything I have to do with the same set, it is not part of my learning. This is the sad thing. So everybody says that for me to pick up more learning, I have to do something new, something different, some extra set. So every single step that the GP just told you, from top to bottom, you are learning, you are picking up skills. You should look at one, but if I should look at one set. From that one set, there is tremendous amount of learning skills that I should do. I think the attitude should be lazy. Minimum number of sets, maximum output. Let's put the number first. How many sets I should do? The minimum, and not like I've seen the GP that people solve questions after questions after question, hoping something will happen. You solve some for 50 sets. Nothing has changed. What is the guarantee that next 50 sets anything will change? So because you're not doing this, what GP just told you, and that is very important. What I should say.
And just to add to what you're saying, things don't change because you have not identified the problem. I could have fever, it could be because of malaria, it could be because of COVID, it could be some other thing. Till you identify that root cause, you will not know what medicine to take. Unfortunately, people just keep taking new sets, they keep attempting more sets, they keep attempting more papers. But that is not going to help. Only thing this will do is it will solidify your bad habits. Because you have not identified where is your execution gap, what are the mistakes you're committing. You keep doing the same stupid thing again, your bad habits will get solidified and no amount of competence will be able to help you. So please work in this aspect, change your habit, identify what are the behavioral issues, which are the behavioral mistakes that you're making in this paper. Which is why I said, what are the mistakes you are doing in gathering the data? What are the mistakes you are doing in organizing the data? And not only what mistakes, ask yourself, why did this happen? This why is, once you address this why, this what will also vanish. Okay, so please focus on understanding why you made certain kind of mistakes. Address that issue. You will be very, very comfortable with this particular section then.
Perfect.
Great. So, Gejo, what we'll do is we'll quickly look at the CDC 1, Countdown Cat 1, and we'll quickly go through all four of the four sets of data. And what I will do here is I'll try to show as to how this paper should be attempted, or when you're looking at the data, what are the pieces of information which are given to you in the information as well as in the question, and then on what basis I would attempt or not attempt. Okay. So let's quickly go through these four sets of data. First is I'm not going to read the entire thing, but this is about the Stadium Oval Stadium final match, one-day international between India and Sri Lanka. 4 stands: Kapil, Gavaskar, Tendulkar, and Ganguly to the east, west, north, and south of the ground, respectively. Now, if you miss out on this word respectively, you will be first trying to identify, okay, which is east, west, north, south. This would be a mistake in gathering of information, and which is why I will always emphasize, don't rush, read it carefully. So these are respectively, so I know Kapil is east, Gavaskar is west, Tendulkar is north, and Ganguly south stand. Okay? Then we have some additional information. Now, 6 statements given. Now, if you just glance through the statement, I'm sure these percentages will stand out. Okay? And this is what I mean by saying, if you are comfortable with numbers, if you have done sufficient number of sets, 3 out of these 4 percentages will come very, very automatically to you. This is nothing but 5 by 9. This is 3 or 4 by 7. This is 3 by 5. This is something which may not be very, very obvious to you, but that's also when you don't have to worry about it now, but when you get down to solving, you can still break it up and say this is nothing but 50% plus 3.84%. I don't know what is 3.84%, so what is double of 3.84? 7.68%. This is nothing but 1 by 13. That means this is nothing but 1 by 26. Okay, so what is 50%? If this is 1 by 13, this is going to be 6.5 by 13. And this is 0.5 by 13. So this is nothing but 7 by 13. Okay. Now this is a deduction I have made, looked at the numbers, but the critical thing is to understand that 3 out of 4 made sense to me. What does this tell me? This tells me that this is a data set. This line itself is telling me this is a data set in which my understanding of numbers will be required. If I am not comfortable with numbers as a concept, then maybe this is not going to be a good set for me. Okay. Now please notice I have not read this. I have just looked at this. Okay. And I know that some stands are there. There are 4 different stands. And these percentages are given, so numbers will be there. Stands are there, so obviously occupation, seating, etc. would happen. Now look at the questions. This is a theta. This has got a definite answer. Again a definite answer. A definite answer. But there's a if out here. What does this mean? If means I will possibly have multiple cases. Okay. If we sat in this row, there will be multiple cases. So this is a question which possibly will require multiple cases, and this data, these 3 questions are unlikely to be requiring multiple cases because these are definite. Okay. Also, when you look at this data, you may want initially to quickly go through it. Okay. And some of these statements you will possibly skim, and you should just skim and leave. For example, this is a pointless statement. This is by and large a pointless statement. This is a pointless statement. Okay. This is 3 is still okay. But definitely statement 1 and statement 4 are something you read, okay, kya mazak bana rakha? This is just a waste of time which is happening for me. Okay.
The seat in each row where he stand were in rows. Row 2 was behind row 1.
Row 3 behind row 2. So these are, please remember, CAT will, not only CAT, all exams will give you certain information which will be completely waste of time. You should be able to pick out, okay, this is information I don't need to pick up. Okay, or this is a statement I don't need to read. Okay, so what is the critical statement here? 1, 2, okay, and 3. Okay. So my point is, this is about numbers. If you just quickly go through these statements, also you know this is talking about no 2 seats could be occupied by in any row of all the stands. So it will tell me how many seats are occupied, how many not occupied, etc., etc. And so numbers, if you're comfortable, there's a data set which should be picked up. Numbers, reciprocal, ratios, you are not comfortable, this is not a good data set for you, possibly. Okay. Second question. Now, this is a data set which I found many students, I find many students leaving. Why? Look at this. Kitna chota sa, chota sa, limited information. This looks like huge amount of data. Okay. But when you have a huge amount of data, please remember the previous one had only 4 questions. This one has 6 questions. Previous one had an issue of numbers, which you may or may not be comfortable with. You are not going to judge the data on the basis of the size of the data or the size of the information. You have to read. So what should you do? Read. Okay. A to F completed annual appraisals for 21-22. It was in 2 parts, compulsory and optional. Compulsory part consists of self, peer, and mentor appraisal. After the ratings were received in these 3 compulsory appraisals, the employees aspiring for promotion or change of profile had the option to be appraised individually by HR head, HODs of other department, and chairman. Also, each of these employees had a choice to be appraised or not to be appraised. So the optional appraisals were optional. You could be appraised by all 3, 1 or 2 or none. That is your choice. Okay. In case of non-appraisal, NA is mentioned place of the ratings of the table given below. In each of the appraisal and appraisal, an employee could get a rating from 1 to 5 based on their performance during the year. The ratings are 1 to 5, from unsatisfactory to excellent. Okay. Now, this should tell you what this data is going to be about. This is what is this? This is the optional portion which is given to you. What will we need to do? We will need to create the table for the compulsory also, which means self-appraisal, peer appraisal, mentor appraisal. So for each of these 6 people, we'll need to calculate that. And how many statements are there? 5 statements. The 5th is extremely lengthy, but the other 4 seem to be reasonable. Okay. So when you are looking at this data, it should be obvious that the compulsory portion is what I will need to create, because the optional portion has been given to me almost Why almost? It has been given to me completely. Okay. Now, is this data going to be difficult, easy, multiple cases or not? Again, look at the questions. Question 1, which are the following sum of self-ratings of AB? That means you will be able to find the self-ratings of AB, definite answer, single case. What is the sum of ratings received by D in compulsory part? D compulsory part is what I need to 12, 13, 14. Or this is a bit of an issue, but I don't think should be a problem. This probably says you may not be able to, but just because it is less than 12 does not mean you will not be able to. Okay? What is the mentor rating for the employee with the total rating, lowest total rating? Okay. Similarly, if you look at which of the following employees can get an increased salary, and this again is theta. What does it mean? Definite answers everywhere. I should be able to complete the table. So the approach for me would be to say, okay, let me do self, let me do peer, and then we have the optional. Not the optional, which was the mentor rating. These three appraisals, for each of these, I have to make a table for this. That's fine. The information is provided. The questions are telling me this is going to be a table which I'll by and large be able to complete. So I should do it. Now, between the first set and the second set, which one is more convenient for you? That is the one you should be going for. If numbers is your strength, maybe that is the first set you should be doing. If you're uncomfortable with numbers, this is the data set that you should be doing. Now, after the paper, when you do this, let me assume you are able to solve or not able to solve, it would not matter. After the paper, still do both of them. Understand how could you have done it faster? What is the error if you committed, if any, if you committed? Okay. Third one, okay. Again, lots of data, 4 questions. The word currency is standing out. And even without reading it, you could say this should have calculations. Okay. Currency A, B, C, D, buying price, selling price. This is going to be about calculations. If calculation is something that you are very, very uncomfortable with, this is not a set for you. And you don't need to read the information to say this. Okay. Okay. What is positive is theta. How many units of currency S did Amir spend? Definite answer. Currency of our country R was sold by Amir at which exchange rate below the corresponding? Definite answer. Same thing. Okay, these are slightly different. Maximum and okay, so maximum means maybe there will be a couple of cases. Okay, but by and large, what should stand out for you is this is calculations. This is calculation, and what I see is statement 4 is fairly lengthy, and only 3 statements. So calculation के लिए तैयार रहना चाहिए है इसके अंदर. Okay, and last one, 8 statements. And 8 statements are short and simple. Now, the good thing about short statements is that you should be able to pick, you will be able to pick one piece of information and put in the table. Even without going through this, for example, cyclist 8 was from city G. This is one piece of information which, irrespective of what kind of table, you will be able to input it in your table. Okay. What is this first? What is it talking about? A certain number of cyclists participated in road cycle race held at Greater Noida. They all started the race at the same time and each one of them finished in different positions. Out of these 8 cyclists, 8 were from 8 different cities. The cities are A to H. These 8 cyclists were assigned different unique numbers from 1 to 8, not necessarily in the same order. So what do we need? We need the cyclist number, which is from 1 to 8. Then we have the city for each of these cyclists, okay, which is from A to H. Okay. These 8 cyclists finished the race in unique positions from 1 to 12. So the position. So this is the table I need. And 8 pieces of information. What about the questions? Definite answer, definite answer, definite answer, definite answer. I should be able to solve it. More or less, you should be able to complete this table, or you should be able to answer all the questions. Okay. Now, what is it that I would want to do if I have to do this paper? Okay. I would say I would attempt this set number 4 first, follow it with set number 2, go to set number 1, and then go to set number 3. However, you might say set number 1 kind of question I don't understand at all. then you don't have an option but to go to set number 3. Okay. But what is important is after the paper, maybe you solved 1, 2, 3, 4, does not matter. Solve all again. Okay. Okay. Also, identify in each of these. So what are we trying to do? At the end of the day, which sets should I have solved? I should have solved or not solved. That is what we need to find out for ourselves. And why? Okay. Second thing that we are trying to do is identify within a set which questions I should not have attempted, I should have left. Third thing we are trying to find out is what was the status of my selection of sets? Did I choose the right sets of data or not? Okay. Fourth thing we are trying to do is if mistakes have been committed, why? Reason for the mistakes, which is where was the mistake? Was it in gathering the data or in organizing the data? I can assure you 9 out of 10 times your mistakes will be either in gathering or organizing. The poor deduction or wrong answer is the outcome of poor gathering or poor organizing of data. Yeah, Gejo.
Now there is one more thing, the problem that people have, LAL problem, which is look and leave. Which, so I'm very sure here. Luckily, at least this question that looks nice was a question that is crackable. But I've seen many cases where students just look at one set and leave. For example, if I look at the previous set, GP.
Okay. Not this one, Gejo. This one I found large number of students leaving completely. कि बहुत ज़्यादा information है. It's a lengthy data set. Does not look good. यार शादी थोड़ा करनी है as I normally say.
So, for example, if I look at the first paragraph here, just analyze it. First paragraph is just giving me information of the setup. Tell me the story. There are employees, there are working. So it is actually helping us understand what is the basic setup. I think the way in which I look at these data, especially most of these logical reasoning question, it's like you're playing a chess game. So when I play the chess game, I need to have a chess board. I need to have chess pieces. And I need to understand the rules of the game. In the same way, I think the first part is merely telling us what is the game here. So though it looks very long, it just gives a basic one. And the table that is given to me, a lot of people are getting very concerned. But table is good because a lot of information is given in front of me.
Yeah.
So this is nice.
The best thing about this set is that I don't need to worry about the optional appraisals at all. It is complete. No gaps here, no fill in the blanks. All I need to do is focus on filling up the table for the self appraisal or that compulsory portion.
And then you have got this information that is given. For example, you've got A, B, and E, C and F giving equal rating, and then you note it down neatly and then start deduction. This if I keep my don't let your eyes deceive before your mind is able to read and process the information. Yeah. And I just want if we go to the next set.
Yeah. Okay. Gejo, one small thing I want to talk since we are on this set itself. Now, just because the statements are 1, 2, 3 does not mean I'll use the information of statement 1 first and then go to statement 2. No. In fact, when I solve this, I will read this. I'll say, okay, I'll come back to this later. I will use statement 2 first, then statement 3, and then I'll do 4, and then I'll go back to statement 1. So you should be able to discern when you're solving the paper, or at least when you're analyzing the paper, okay, maybe I should have started with statement 2. So the right start point is important. Just because statement 1 is there does not mean you have to force fit statement 1 information into the table. Okay. Yeah, Gejo, this one.
So what I just wanted to point out here is that, so that the little bit of graph in the middle is giving what information? That could have been a small table. That could be 2 seconds. Okay. So I
would say this has been given only to confuse and to make it look difficult.
I remember in the 2017 one of the data was there were the 3 concentrated circles with lot more data that is presented to us. Sometimes I think the previous question GP, I think this was 2017 2018 or 20, a similar one.
This is 2019. This is based on a 2019 CAT paper.
I remember something about a similar that they just put nice color of graph, which the graph just give me one simple information.
Yeah, that was 2018 paper.
So, for example,
the sales and that was a simple arithmetic progression or averages question actually.
I think, for example, the previous question, when those number is given as 4 in the table, the question setter can decide I'm going to represent that in some sort of a graph and make it look difficult. So it is important that a graph is, this particular graph helps me understand, for example, currency is the lowest, visually helps me understand. So if let's say you keep everything out and if you focus on the process of what we said, S, let's say if your skill set of selecting, gather, organizing, ability to deduce, and then solving the questions. So if you keep on this process and what GP has just shown is each of these paper, there are decisions that you have to make. You have to first select, then pick. I think today at least he is not shown, but you can watch the videos that GP has made for the DILR side. You can also watch the videos by Ravi Teja. Ravi Teja is posting a lot of videos on.
Yeah, he's very good in DILR.
Diligently, I think it was some 99.9 or something. Not last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man got 99.96 overall, if I remember. Okay. So yeah. So so keep your test taking simple. Keep your analysis simple, but ensure that you can maximize, gather as much learning as possible.
And one important thing, just remember this graph.
Yeah.
Just remember this particular slide. You don't need to do 20 out of 20 questions. Okay. Just so have your expectation realistic. Make sure your expectations from yourself are realistic. Don't say I have to do all 20. No. And when I know I can get a 99 odd percentile with about 2 sets of data or 3 sets of data, why will I worry about 4 sets? Because if I do 2 sets of data with 6 questions each, I'm done. I don't need to worry about more than that. Okay. And last year's paper, I'm again saying my slot, there were 2 sets with 4 questions each, which were very easy. Okay. And you know, Gejo, what was the problem? Many students, even after they solved, they could not believe they have solved and started solving again, just to see if they have made some mistake or not. Ki how can CAD be so easy? Are bhaiya, kyun nahi ho sakta? So after the paper, I said, in my slot, I said, it will be between 8 and 14. Either your score, the correct answers have to be between 8 and 14. And I was shocked when I found that many students had solved 2 sets in about 20-25 minutes, and then rather than going to the third set, started checking kahin galti to nahi ho gayi mujhse. Yeah, agar tumne ek baar galti kar di in the exam, you are going to repeat that mistake. You are unlikely to find the mistake at that point of time. Okay? So have faith in yourself and focus, because the issue is you don't focus on the process, you speed up. Hence, you always apprehensive ki maybe I have made a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what are the learnings that we have? Okay. I think we have, by and large, talked about in multiple things, but just to complete it again, focus on selection, choose the right sets of data, and to make sure you learn how to choose the right sets of data. After the paper, you need to redo all sets. Okay. Classify them as easy, medium, difficult, and identify what made them easy, medium, difficult. Okay. Okay. Because once you have solved the set, you know it is easy because of this reason, difficult because of this reason. That is what you need to focus on, so that next time you are able to fix the issue. Once you have chosen a set of data, this is what you need to focus on. Gathering of information, organizing of data is the place where the maximum amount of execution issues arise. This is where you will make a mistake because you will be reading fast. As I said, you miss out on the word respectively, end of the story for you. You read the data properly, don't spend time, you just scribble somewhere here, and when some information is here, some is here, some is here, you will not be able to collate. Use the rough sheet properly so that you are able to organize the data in a manner so that the entire data is visible to you in one shot. Okay. Third thing is, once you have gathered and organized, your deduction will be fine. And again, when you are solving, please don't rush. Look at the choices, especially when you're solving, look at the choices. And when you're looking at the choices, see if you can approximate or you need not approximate. One more thing which I should have talked about in terms of gathering information, it was not there in this paper, but many times you'll find you can gather information from the questions also, which is what Gejo had said initially. We'll discuss it in maybe some other video. If you look at a couple of Jugaad videos for DILR I have done, look at those videos, you'll find that I've picked up information from the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Gejo, the 4-week action plan.
Okay. I think let's put one task first. Let's face every week one task, which is taking a mock test and doing exactly what GP just told you to do. So let's, I think, start. That is by tasks one. Every week, I am going to do that task. When I say test, which you're anyway doing, you're taking this CDC, but I think that you're devoting time for DLR and learning. Okay, that is task number one.
Okay, I'm adding the prime mock also. To my mind, you can take up to 2 mocks a week. At this point of time, I would strongly recommend don't do more than 2 mocks a week. 2 is by and large good enough. And even if you do 1, it is fine. Now, some of you would not have completed all your prime mocks, so maybe you can cover up for them by taking 1 extra paper a week. The next CDC, I think, is next month only. This month we don't have. So obviously, you should take a paper. Okay. Yeah, Gejo, back to you.
23rd is we have the prime mock.
Yeah.
23rd. Okay, but you're right. So now this is analysis. Now take CDC. Matlab, I'm assuming analysis problem. Number 2 task that we have to do.
Okay, let me just add to it. Plus analyze. Otherwise, I don't want people to come back and say कि आपने लिखा नहीं था. So I'll repeat. Both Gejo and I have been saying this umpteen times. There's no point taking a paper if you are not going to analyze. A 2-hour paper at this point of time will mean at least 4 hours, maybe 5 hours of analysis. So if you are not willing to analyze, please don't take the paper at all. And if you are not going to take the paper, please don't take CAT also, because CAT is going to be horrible for you.
Yeah. So conversely, by logical correlation, if you want to go to IIM, then you take the mock. If you want, if you want to go to the IIM, you need to improve your skills. If you want to improve the skills, you need to understand the problem. If you want to understand the problem, you need to figure out some analysis. For doing the analysis, you need to have your mock. Simple story. Number 2, GP mentioned one thing that you have identified easy, medium, difficult. So I'm putting one more task, very important, which means revision of one previous mocks set. GP people don't like to do this.
No,
the toppers love to do this.
Yeah, Gejo, I want students to only remember that when they were in class 10th and 12th, the school conducted pre-boards not once, couple of times, and some schools did it 3 times. Because you had 3 times pre-boards or 2 times pre-boards, you went through the entire syllabus twice. You revised. And the 3rd or the 4th time you did just because before your board exams. So revision is what ensures, revision will ensure speed. Revision will ensure accuracy. Many students say, how do I increase my speed? Boss, revise. Why is it that I can look at a number and say 55.55 is 4.5 by 9? It is a function of revision. You will be able to save a lot of time purely because you have revised. So please revise. It is going to improve your speed and accuracy both.
There is a wrong perception that revision is only for knowledge-based thing. Revision is for it's a revision and repetition is also for skills. If you want to be good at making burgers, you should keep on making burgers 100 times. Then you'll be good at it. Now, if you want to, so what happens every time you get back? What you're doing is that your process is getting solid. You're looking the set. You'll be very comfortable with next time. So while you're adding more and more stuff, you're learning more and more stuff. Going back to your learning, revising the learning. That's second task. So weekly pick up one date, and this will go for all subjects, especially for DILR. Third, I believe GP is we need to have, of course, picking up for your daily practice or the weekly practice additional DILR set. For the sources, would be obviously the sources that is available to you through Career Launcher. Of course, if you are a Career Launcher student, you got access to many things. Also, recent CAT
Old
papers.
CAT papers. Yeah.
No. So revision plus new stuff. Keep this simple. Well, in 1 month, I'm looking at, for example, to the mocks of GP has put about 4 into bare minimum, 4 into, let's say, 5 mocks, but take 20 sets we do there.
Yes.
We have at least bare minimum 20 sets. I think we can look at the CAT and other stuff. We'll probably do maybe another, let's say, 30, 40 sets. So we can totally put a 50 set. 50 set should be good enough GP to get me 90 percentile, no?
Easily. Yeah.
50 से आपने निकालना है 90-95% है.
Okay. I am just writing this. The purpose of analysis or analyzing the paper is to identify poor habits. Okay. Poor habits, or let me say execution gaps. Execution gaps, so that you can rectify them. Okay. And to be able to identify your easy, medium, difficult data sets and questions. Okay. So as far as DILR is concerned, I think it's a fairly straightforward thing. Every week take at least 1 mock, maximum 2 mocks. Every day do 2 sets of DILR. Every time you take a mock, you do 2 sets of DILR. Analyze those data sets and the papers. Identify easy, medium, difficult. Identify what are the execution gaps you indulge in and rectify them. So that you can rectify them. Okay, this is all that you need to do. DILR is the easiest section to get a high score, and because the requirement for a 99.5 percentile is a very low number of 12 questions out of 20 maximum. So if you do 2 sets of 6 or 1 set of 6 and the 2 sets of 4 with despite leaving a couple of questions, you will easily get to a 99.5 percentile.
Yep.
Okay. So anything else, Gejo, you want to add?
No, I think that we have been speaking for 1 hour. I think you have told everything that you have to say.
Okay. So let's close this session now, and hopefully this will help you. And request to all of you in the comment section, if there are any other issues you want us to tackle, please write down. We'll pick up from there. And yes, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, so that you stay in touch with us till your CAT throughout your CAT preparation. Okay. So that's it from our side. Thank you. Bye.